All right, so you guys wanted it, you got it. Time to dive deep into Heidegger. Specifically, Heidegger on being and time. From Being and Time. We'll be using excerpts from the book itself, obviously, and Joan Stamball's translator's notes. We figured those would be helpful to, guide us through this whole thing.
It's a good choice, though. Even though it's a challenge, Being in Time, it's a cornerstone. 20th century thought. It's just like jam-packed with ideas that still resonate today.
Yeah, and our mission here, not to, turn you into Heidegger experts overnight. That'd be crazy. No, it's more about, giving you guys the keys to his biggest aha moments. The stuff that might just change how you see the world a little bit.
Yeah, exactly. We'll help you, unlock those key takeaways. And hopefully you'll see how they connect to, the bigger picture of everything.
Right. Okay, so let's kick things off with this whole being thing. I mean, do you walk around, pondering your very existence all the time?
Every day.
Yeah, I don't think so. But Heidegger seemed to think that was exactly what we should be doing.
It's interesting, right? Because Heidegger, he believed that being, just being, is both the most universal concept, but also the most overlooked.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, everything that exists.
Right. I mean, yes, yeah.
But we rarely actually stop and think about what that means. What does it mean to exist?
It's how do you even define that?
Exactly.
It's like trying to grab air or something. It's everywhere, but, good luck defining it.
Yeah. And, that's where Heidegger, blows things wide open. He's like, forget about those neat little categories. This is a table. That's a chair. Being itself, it's not a thing to be categorized. It's the foundation for all things, right?
Okay.
Even Aristotle, Hegel, all those philosophy all-stars,
Yeah.
they didn't quite nail it, at least according to Heidegger.
Things are getting deep here.
Yeah.
So Heidegger uses this term Dasein, and it's for our type of being. What makes human existence so special, so different?
Okay, so Dasein, it's different from a rock or a tree. Dasein is always being in the world.
Being in the world.
Yeah, we're not separate things just, off observing, our surroundings. We're interwoven with them, constantly interacting and projecting ourselves into the future.
So it's not just being in the world, it's being part of it.
Exactly. Yeah.
So imagine being dropped into a video game world, right? You're not just existing there. You're immediately part of it. You're interacting. You're making choices that shape what happened.
Exactly. That is a fantastic way to put it.
I try.
Yeah, we're constantly encountering, interpreting, and acting within our world, and that's what makes Dasein so unique. But it's not just about the physical stuff around us either.
Right. Because Heidegger didn't think the world was just about a bunch of objects.
Oh, no.
So what was he getting at then?
Well, he really emphasized that the world is this web of relationships and meanings.
Okay.
Think about a hammer, right? It's not just wood and metal, right? It's got a purpose. It's got this relationship to other tools. There's this shared understanding of how we use it.
So even for someone living centuries ago, way back, their world was still filled with this, what did you call it? Worldliness, this network of meanings. Even if their tools and understanding were totally different from ours.
Precisely. Whether we're talking, ancient civilizations, modern society, there's always this layer of meaning and significance that Dasein brings to its world.
Okay, so we're Dasein, we're being in the world, but we're not alone. This is where mid-Dasein comes in. Being with others.
Yes. And that's where things get really interesting. This brings us to the concept of the they, the societal norms, expectations, all that stuff.
Ugh, the they.
Right. And let's face it, it has a huge influence on how we see ourselves and the world in general.
Oh, 100%.
It's that pressure to fit in. It's the unwritten rules we follow without even realizing it.
Oh, I think we've all felt the weight of the they at some point in our lives, right? That feeling of having to conform, maybe even sacrificing a bit of who you are to fit in with the crowd.
Absolutely. The they, it's a powerful force. It can lead us down this path of inauthenticity where we're living according to someone else's script instead of, embracing our own true being.
Okay, so we're being in the world, dealing with the they, but then there's this whole other layer, time. And Heidegger didn't see it just as something ticking away on a clock, did he? Time meant something totally different for him.
Totally different. He thought time was woven into the very fabric of our existence. It wasn't just this straight line from past to future. It was more this dynamic interplay between what has been, what is, and what's possible, all happening at once, kind of.
So how did he break all that down? Like, how did Heidegger see time differently?
Well, he broke temporality into three main parts, right? You got your future, your having been, and your present. And the future, it wasn't just some set path. He said it's about us, like projecting ourselves forward, constantly like striving towards possibilities.
Okay, so it's not about knowing what's going to happen. It's more about making choices that shape what might happen.
Exactly. It's about potential. And then you've got having been, which isn't just about like dwelling on the past, you know? It's about recognizing how all our past experiences, even the stuff we've forgotten, it influences who we are right now in this moment.
So all this is happening in the present,
Yeah.
right? The moment where we're making decisions, taking action, actually like living our lives.
Yeah. Heidegger thought of the present as this kind of intersection where the weight of our past and all those future possibilities, they collide. We're not just like reacting to what's happening now. We're carrying our whole history and all our hopes with us, like every step of the way.
Wow. That makes you think about the present moment a little differently. But here's the thing. If we're so caught up in the they, not really, like confronting our own being,
Mm.
are we even living authentically? Is that what Heidegger was getting at?
That's the heart of it, right? Heidegger believed most of us were just kind of existing in this state of inauthenticity, like going through the motions without really, examining who we are or what actually matters to us.
It's like we're on autopilot or something.
Yeah, exactly. It's like we're sleepwalking through life.
Mm.
And that they, it's just dictating all our choices.
So how do we wake up? Heidegger talks about this idea of resoluteness.
Yeah,
Is that the key to breaking free?
that's it. Resoluteness, it's about facing our own, finitude,
Which basically means,
that we are like beings moving towards death.
there it is.
Right. But it's not about freaking out. It's about facing it head on without, shrinking away. It's about taking responsibility for our own lives, even though everything's uncertain, even though there's so much we don't know.
So I'm hearing like not a denial of death, but like an honest acceptance of it and letting that shape how we live.
Exactly. Recognizing our time is limited. It should like fuel a more authentic, more meaningful life. I know it sounds kind of, morbid maybe, but Heidegger actually thought it was incredibly freeing.
Okay, yeah, I can kind of see that. Like understanding our own limited time could push us to make, I don't know, like bolder choices. But how do we actually confront our own mortality?
Mhm.
Heidegger talked about anxiety, right? Is that where this comes in?
Yeah. And it's important to remember he distinguished between like fear, which is about something specific, right? And anxiety. And anxiety is deeper. It's this like unease about, our existence itself. It comes from being aware of our own, well, finitude. It's that feeling of being thrown into existence without a map or like a rule book, just this feeling of what now?
It's like standing on the edge of a cliff. It's not about being afraid of falling. It's that like dizzy feeling, you know? You're looking out at this vast emptiness and you realize how small you are.
That's a great way to put it. And it can be, a little uncomfortable, that feeling. But Heidegger actually thought anxiety was like a pathway to authenticity.
Really?
Yeah. By leaning into that anxiety, the groundlessness, it forces us to open up to new possibilities and a deeper understanding of, who we are at our core.
So it's about like not running away from those feelings of anxiety, but like, accepting them as part of what it means to be human.
Exactly. Acknowledging those existential questions that what does it all mean,
Yeah.
feeling, but like being okay with not having easy answers. Because it's often in those moments of uncertainty where we find our own path, our authentic path.
Okay, so anxiety can actually be a good thing. It can lead to authenticity,
Yeah.
but then there's guilt.
Yeah.
And Heidegger, he seems to think that guilt is just part of being Dasein, right?
Mhm.
Not because we've like messed up or done something wrong, but just because we are.
Yeah, that's one of his more challenging ideas. He's not talking about, the guilt we feel when we do something wrong. It's more about this like inherent indebtedness to being itself.
Wait, indebtedness to being? That sounds pretty abstract. Can you, unpack that a little? So to be clear, Heidegger's saying we're in debt, but like not to a person or even a thing. We like owe something to the very fact that we exist. That's a pretty unique concept, I'd say.
It is. It's like imagine, receiving this incredible gift, right? This gift of like being alive. It's not something you earned or asked for, but hey, here you are. And Heidegger, he believed that this gift, it comes with this like responsibility, almost like a weight that we carry with us.
So it's less about feeling bad and more about like realizing just how huge existence actually is. Like we have this limited time to actually like do something with this gift we've been given.
Exactly. Heidegger's guilt, it's not about dwelling on our mistakes or anything. It's about like recognizing the potential of, just being here and then striving to live authentically right now in this moment. And that's where, all the stuff we've been talking about, being, time, anxiety, even guilt, it all comes together.
Okay, so all this mind-bending stuff about existence, I mean, it wasn't just Heidegger geeking out on abstract ideas, right?
Right.
He felt like he was actually like doing something new in philosophy.
Right.
Um,
Oh, absolutely. Heidegger, he truly believed that philosophy had, kind of lost its way,
yeah.
that it had become too focused on like classifying the world and not focused enough on the question of what it means to like actually be. He wanted to get back to those like fundamental questions.
So not just like, what is a tree, but what does it even mean for a tree or anything to be in the first place?
Exactly. He was like, hold on a minute. We've been so busy labeling and categorizing everything that we've forgotten to even ask about, like, being itself. Like, what's it all based on? So, yeah, he definitely wanted to shake things up a bit, get back to those big questions.
And this is where his whole concept of truth as unconcealment comes in, right? That truth isn't about like checking facts, but about how, we as Dasein are interacting with and kind of revealing the world around us.
Precisely. Remember that analogy of the fog clearing? Heidegger believed that truth is always like unfolding, but it's unfolding through our, interaction with the world. It's not about finding this like one right answer. It's about, continually uncovering these layers of meaning as we, go through life.
Okay, so we've talked about how Dasein is always being in the world, but Heidegger also had some interesting stuff to say about language.
We did. He thought language was more than just like a tool for talking to each other. He thought it was like a way that being, like existence itself, reveals itself to us. Almost like language is this like bridge between, our inner world of understanding and the outer world of existence.
So it's not just that language describes the world, it's that language helps to shape how we understand the world. That's a powerful thought.
It is. Heidegger actually called language the house of being. It's this like structure that both reveals and conceals truth. Think about it, right? Like, how differently would we see the world if we spoke a completely different language, like one with different concepts and different ways of, looking at things?
Mind officially blown. So as we wrap up our deep dive here into Heidegger, what's like the biggest takeaway you want our listeners to walk away with? Like, why does all this matter?
Well, I think Heidegger's philosophy, even though it's definitely challenging, it really offers this like powerful invitation. It's an invitation to, examine our lives, like really examine them and to confront those like big existential questions, to live authentically, knowing that our time is limited and to like truly appreciate how amazing and complex the world is.
It's not about finding the easy answers. It's about having the courage to ask those really big questions in the first place. The questions about what it means to really be.
Exactly. And who knows, maybe just by like engaging with those questions, we can start to live, a little more deliberately, a little more authentically, and a little more fully, like in this moment right now.
I love that. And for all our listeners out there, if this deep dive, sparked even a little bit of curiosity in you, we encourage you to keep exploring. Pick up being in time, or even just, take some time to like think about these big questions Heidegger was wrestling with.
Yeah, there's always more to uncover, always more to understand. And remember, this whole journey of understanding Heidegger, it's often a lifelong thing. So, take your time, be open to new ideas, and most importantly, enjoy the journey.
And we'll leave you with this final thought. Heidegger, he believed that we don't just exist in time, we are time. So if you're going through your day-to-day, think about that. What does it actually mean to be time? What does like your experience of time tell you about yourself and your place in the world? Happy pondering, everyone.